welcome to the Raptors Show on the Sportsnet Radio Network. Reminder, we're streaming live on Sportsnet's YouTube channel and airing live on Sportsnet 360 Monday to Friday from 2 to 3 p.m. Make sure you find the Raptors Show wherever you listen to podcasts and subscribe. And please rate and review the show. I'm your host, William Lou. And today I am joined by Big V, Vivek Jacob, Raptors.com, friend of the program. What's up, V? How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. It's good to have the Raptors back. It's good to have United battling for a top 4 position.
Oh, okay. We're already here?
The dream is alive.
Oh, wow.
This is just for Alex. And India got a huge win over Pakistan.
Yeah, so before we get into this game last night, did you wake up at 4 a.m. to watch that?
Of course I woke up at 4 a.m. to watch.
What do you mean, of course you woke up at 4 a.m.?
It's India versus Pakistan in the World Cup, bro.
Yeah. Okay, all right. Congrats.
You got to wake up.
Yeah, congrats. All right. Alex has put here on the rundown.
Happy Diwali to those who celebrate.
Yep, there you go. Had a great dinner on Sunday. Got some great news from some great friends. Anyway, so Raptors-Heat. That's all the small talk we have for now. We'll talk more football later. Unfortunately, to be honest, Liverpool underperforming so hard this season has really made me more reluctant to talk soccer on the show. So I'm sure people are rejoicing. So I don't think that we're too popular in terms of those segments. But okay, so Raptors-Heat, the rematch. Obviously, game 1, Raptors coming in super late, played no defense at all in the first half. There was a fight, there were some injuries, and ultimately the Raptors made a hard comeback, but they couldn't get it over the line. I felt like if that game went like 5 more minutes, the Raptors could have won the first game as well, but obviously that's not how the game is played. Second game, I mean, I wanted to know what your expectations were coming into it, because for me, I was just thinking this is going to be one of those like rock fights. And that's kind of exactly how it went. Raptors winning 98-90.
Yeah, coming into the game, I expected to see a full-out response because for so much of the first part of this home and home, whatever you want to call it, the Raptors were unrecognizable. There were so many mental mistakes that you would generally not associate with the team, whether it was, missing out on 2-for-1 opportunities, not crashing the glass, all of that type of stuff. And so I expected the Raptors to come out with a serious effort in the first quarter, set the tone early. And I thought they did a pretty good job of that. Obviously, you expected Miami to come hard at Pascal. And I thought they were timing the double teams really, really well and forcing him into some tough decisions. And he needed some time to actually recognize and read what they were doing. But, around him, I thought everyone stepped up. I think Fred VanVleet took that onus on himself. It's like, okay, there's no Scotty Barnes. Little bit less of that catch and shoot role, more onus to, get the offense going. And I thought he did a really good job of that.
Yeah, and that's one of those themes that I have been tracking on the show. We talked to Alvin about it yesterday, just as a point guard, the transition from scoring to playmaking, finding the right balance. And even Alvin was saying, like, look, obviously this is a new role for Fred, but he's still got to find a better balance of it, right? Like, I think there needs to be more of that scoring emphasis. And, of course, as you mentioned, no Scotty. That's a big gap in the lineup, right? Scotty has done really well in these matchups against Miami. He was probably the only guy who was playing well in the first half of the first game when they didn't play any defense. So, unfortunately, obviously, he wasn't able to play. Good news on that front. He was a game-time decision. He remains questionable. He's day-to-day. So there is a chance that we see Scotty Barnes coming back from an ankle injury against Philly. Is that a little scary to you? Is that a little too much deja vu? Like, what's going on?
No, I mean, if he's ready to come back, I think he should go. I think I would like to think they've learned their lessons from last season in terms of, like Fred said, he learned his lesson in terms of, not listening to his body. And hopefully that's a message that's been sent across the locker room.
Yeah.
And so there is no need to rush Scotty back. There is too much at stake long-term with him to force the issue. We're going into game 5 of 82.
Right, right.
Unless he's absolutely ready to go, there's no need to rush him.
No, that's fair. That's fair. But yeah, to that point, you have no Scotty, so Fred has to be more aggressive. What did you see from his approach? Because was it that different from what he did last season when he was healthy in the game last night against Miami, or was it sort of like more of a hybrid approach of that playmaking, but also that willingness to step up, especially when Pascal's off the floor, he can maybe slide into that number 1 scoring option. Like, what did you make of Fred's game, and is that the right balance that you would like to see him hit for the rest of the season?
So I do agree that it was more of a hybrid as opposed to a full shift to what he was last season. And I think it was just understanding that whereas maybe in the first few games it was Pascal first, Scotty second, and then, between him and OG, what the opportunity presents, they'll take advantage. I think he was clearly saying, hey, if Pascal is going to kick it out, if Pascal doesn't have it, I'm going with it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's what we saw, and that's what you need while Scotty's out. Is this what I want to see going forward? No, because when Scotty's healthy anyway, right? As long as Scotty is out, this is the Fred I want to see. When Scotty comes back, I'm okay with seeing it returning to what we saw the first few games, because we are trying to see Fred VanVleet play his best basketball in April, May, hopefully some way in June. Right. And so keeping that in mind, the one thing I will say with Scotty is I want to track, in terms of his taking what the game is giving him, how much is he going to just assert himself? I think there's been times where he's settled for that mid-range shot and maybe hasn't been as assertive as he can be. How much of that was maybe the ankle bothering him to an extent, we don't know. But he needs to be that assertive to validate Fred moving down the pecking order.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair, and I think that expectation needs to be put on Scotty as well, right? It's not always on the other players on the team. I think it's easier, especially when you have like discussions where you have like fans sort of picking sides between which players they support. It's easier to blame other players for not passing the ball to them, or blame the coach for not drawing up plays for them. But it's a lot of the time, it's like the responsibility is there. The ball's going to rotate and it's going to move around on the Raptors. It's a very unselfish team. It's your turn to decide when to attack. And I think that once Scotty is back, and obviously, hopefully he's fully ready with the ankle and everything like that, you do want to see him attack. But, I mean, for me, it's like this season, even though Fred hasn't controlled the ball that much, I think the best stretch of the Raptor basketball have unsurprisingly come when Fred and Pascal are the main directors of the offense. They're the main initiators. And I thought last night, obviously the half-court offense was pretty gummy. What was the stat that you tweeted out at halftime?
At halftime, the Raptors had a half-court offensive rating of 58.
58. Okay. All right. That's a little higher than I thought it was, actually.
And a transition offensive rating of 180.
180. All right. Yeah. So, very, very drastic difference. But, I mean, I think you got to give Miami a lot of credit, too. Like, obviously, a very experienced team, really well-coached team. They execute. They play really hard last night. And, it's not easy to score on that team. But I don't know. I think there's like a tried and true combo with Fred and Pascal that you really needed to lean on last night. I think a lot of the fourth quarter offense, outside of that, the transition or even semi-transition opportunities, a lot of that was Fred and Pascal. So I still like seeing them control the offense. But, I think the other part of that is just you have to put the ball in players' hands who know how to like solve a problem, right? And last night it was a real problem. Miami was giving Pascal lots of fits. Like, I think he shot like 2 of 14 in the first half. And then second half, he was way better, 5 of 11, but got to the free throw line a ton, got 18 points, had 6 assists in the second half. What were some of the adjustments that you saw from the Raptors and also from Pascal Siakam that led to him having a really bad first half versus a really great second half?
Well, I think particularly in the second quarter, I was getting frustrated with the spacing on the court and the overall offensive process. I felt like Pascal was just rushing more than he needed to at times. And I think because of the way Miami was timing their doubles, I think he made up his mind that he was just going to go as early as possible and sort of force some decisions from there. And it just didn't work out in his favor. And then I think the second half, having that understanding of where the double is coming from, understanding, where his teammates are going to be. I thought the spacing was better. Generally, you saw Gary and OG out there on the court most times. And then, honestly, on top of that, like, Precious's rebounding was huge, right?
Amazing.
When you talk about what this team needs offensively, it starts with securing that defensive board and getting out and pushing with pace as much as possible. And so multiple times you could see Precious secure the board, either get it to Fred, get it to Pascal, and the offense is in motion, able to generate better looks. And so I think all of that led to a better second half for Pascal. And, you know, the third quarter, I thought the process was really good. It's just that they were missing shots. Like Gary had some really wide open looks.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden, the fourth quarter, especially over the final 7 minutes, where they only allowed 7 points in those final 7 minutes.
Yeah.
So to close the game out like that, Pascal, again, perfect decisions in terms of finding his teammates, taking the onus on himself when he needed to. And I really like overall that Pascal never like devalued his own scoring. I think I would go back to even the 2019-20 season, which was by all accounts an amazing season until the bubble.
Yeah.
There were times where if he didn't have his offense going, he's such an unselfish teammate that he was like, okay, let's get other people involved because I don't have it tonight.
Yeah.
And I think you still need to put that pressure on the defense, and you can't allow them to think, okay, he's not looking for his shot, because the Raptors, as it is, like they don't really command a lot of gravity, right?
Yeah.
And so constantly keeping the defense wary of, hey, I'm going to try and attack you. I think that is an important evolution in his game and keeping that process consistent.
Yeah, definitely. And you know, I think there are times where you see Pascal get visibly frustrated. I think probably more last season, definitely in the Tampa season, although there were other extenuating factors for that. What I've seen from this season, he's just confident. Like even he had a bad first half, like in terms of his scoring. He didn't, you know, escape the game, as you mentioned, right? He stuck with it and he found ways. And to your point, it's like you got to know sometimes like when you go quick and when you go slow, right? Like in the half court, Miami's defense was stacked up so well that unless it was like a fadeaway into the right corner on the baseline to seal the game, which he did hit, by the way, you're not going to get a lot of opportunities, right? Like you're probably going to have to shoot some catch and shoot jumpers, which he did. He knocked down 2 threes, which is really big.
Both being above the break, by the way. That is what I love.
Exactly, right? And that's the area where he's operating from the most often. So he's probably going to be spotting up from there the most often. Yes, like the corner three is probably an easier shot. It's a shot that he's taken more of, especially in that championship season when he won Most Improved Player. He was taking most of his shots from the corners. He was wide open. But now when his responsibility offensively is so big, you need him at the top of the floor at all times, either as an outlet or as the main initiator. So he's not going to be in a position to be stationed in the corner. That's not a luxury that Pascal gets. But he kind of accepted that, like, look, I'm probably not going to get all the way to the rim as much as I want. In fact, Miami was basically, that was the whole defense, right? Alvin pointed out on broadcast. They're playing boxes on elbows. Like, he's got a man on him. He's got a help defender at the edge of the paint, and then he's got a help defender at the rim. You got to be 3 guys to get to the basket. You're probably not going to shoot an efficient shot there. However, you also got to know when to go quick, too, because I thought almost all of the Raptors' best fourth quarter offense just came off of transition. And the way Pascal played 42 minutes, he was pushing the break. He was leading the break. There were opportunities where he had like a 1-on-3 fast break, would dribble around his guy and wait for his teammates to finally cut so he can find them. Like, I think that's the thing too, is just like he didn't get disconnected from the game, and eventually he stuck with it, and he came up huge. And in terms of crunch time offense, I think this is a stat that's sort of been put out there, but the Raptors so far, obviously only 4 games, but they played crunch time every single game, and they have been pretty great in crunch time every single game. What do you make of that? Is that the early signs of continuity sort of paying off?
Yeah, absolutely. But the biggest thing is it goes back to what you said initially in terms of relying on Fred and Pascal. And we've seen them go to that Fred and Pascal pick and roll time and time again. And one interesting wrinkle that Fred talked about after the game last night is getting Gary in the corner more often. And we obviously saw that dagger shot for Gary come from the corner. And
he might have been behind the backboard the way he sidestepped deeper into the corner. I don't know how he stayed in bounds. You know?
Well, hey, like Fred was saying, man, as long as Gary can see the basket, he's open. So
Fred's got great quotes, man. Yeah.
And I think that's an important thing where Fred was talking about, even in transition, they want Gary running out to the corner
Yeah.
because he is a legit gravity guy. He commands that attention. And so I think getting him in those corners where opposing defenders can't cheat and just, attack the glass. Like, how many times do we see Delano stationed in the corner? Do we see Precious stationed in the corner?
Boucher knocked down a pair in the corner.
Yeah. And so now you get Gary in the corner. That's a really tough decision to make, to leave him, right? If you're going to go help on a Pascal drive.
Yeah.
Or a Scotty drive when he's healthy. And so I think those are little things that the Raptors are doing that are going to make them a bit more free offensively in crunch situations.
Yeah, and I think, when you really break down the nuts and bolts of it, I think I actually really like Gary in the weak side corner, not the strong side corner. I think usually what they've done is, I noticed this last night with Pascal too, is he would attack obviously in that sort of like elbow area. I mean, I'm watching the screen beside us right now in the studio. He's literally doing this, okay? and he has an empty side, right? He doesn't want anyone in the corner because that allows him to potentially drive baseline. It forces the help usually to come from the top of the floor. And when the help comes at the top of the floor, Pascal makes a kick out. They swing. The guy who's open is most often the guy in the weak side corner.
Yep.
Because the rotation is the longest to get from the guy who helps on Pascal, the double teamer, needs to then rotate all the way back to the opposite corner. And if you move the ball quickly, which the Raptors have done so far, that's the shot that's going to be open the most. And in fact, that was the final play, was Pascal is in the post, he draws two, kicks it to Fred swings it to Gary. Now, the Heat were actually really good in rotation there, but Gary said, I'm going to sidestep even deeper into the – I'm going to go behind the backboard, shoot it, and cash it. That was amazing. But, yeah, I think, just overall spacing has kind of like, there at times it's gummy. Like, especially when they go to the bench, it gets pretty nasty, right? We've seen combinations of like Precious, Delano, and Christian Coloco on the floor at the same time.
Yep.
No spacing between the three of those guys. I mean, Precious can knock down the occasional three, but people aren't really respecting the shot right now. But overall as a team, the Raptors are shooting 40% from three. They're fifth, I think, in the NBA right now in three-point percentage. What do you make of that? Because that's got to be a surprise area for you, no?
Yes and no. I think one thing I was curious about coming into this season is seeing what the Raptors really are as a three-point shooting team.
Okay.
Because I think two things can be true when you look back at last season. Yes, they were a poor three-point shooting team, but also it could have looked worse than it really was because you never really saw Fred, Gary, OG on the court together that much. And then when Precious came around as a three-point shooter,
OG was out.
OG was out, and Fred was shooting 29% from three.
Yeah.
So I think one of the things I was curious about coming into this season, now Otto Porter Jr. hasn't been healthy and Chris Boucher's just come back, but now if you get Pascal knocking down some of these above the break threes and you get all of these guys knocking down shots, what does that look like for the team? And so are they a better three-point shooting team than we even imagined?
Yeah, and I think, and to that front, like it's not like anyone's necessarily like shooting the lights out to a degree where it feels unsustainable.
Right.
It just looks like good organization and spacing on offense. And that's where you do have to give Nick a lot of credit too. It's just like, he's not working with that many healthy shooters at the moment, right? Even when everyone's healthy, like there's actually a lot better shooting, as you mentioned, but still, like, it wouldn't say the Raptors have shooters up and down the roster like Golden State or anything like that. But the way they're attacking right now, with Pascal playing in the areas that he is, punishing double teams. I mean, this is part of the reason why he's like flirting with triple doubles every single night, right? And I think, the other portion too is just like you still do need some bench production. First 3 games, so little bench play. I think in that Brooklyn game, that was their number one downfall, was that they got 9 total points off the bench.
Yep.
But last night, much better. Chris Boucher returns to the lineup. Friend of the program, Chris. Salute. Okay, we've been advocating for him to come back. If you listen to the post game comments, the teammates were all joking about how they're like, "Chris, come back, please! Like, we need you." And then you see the immediate impact. Obviously, he got into foul trouble, jumped a couple times on pump fakes. Listen, we're past that at this point. We're just gonna move on, okay? But the scoring, the corner threes,
my boy William,
the activity defensively, the synergy with him and Precious. I just thought that like that really restored the identity of the Raptors that they showed for a large part of what made them successful last season. So what did you see from Chris in his season debut?
I saw hustle play.
Oh, what a plug. What a plug.
I saw a guy that was just getting after it, that loved to be back out on the court, and really just, accentuates everyone else's skills. All of a sudden, Precious is talking about how, okay, he can trust where Chris Boucher is going to be. So it's like if he wants to roam a little bit, he can do that. And so I think little things like that make such a big difference. And then, as a team, when you see Chris Boucher playing with that energy, getting after it on the offensive glass, like, you are going to be motivated to do the same.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, oh, yeah, I remember this is how we used to play.
Yeah. No, and listen, salute to Precious. I thought, especially watching back on the film, not only obviously the 22 rebounds stand out, but to me, when we talked about the fourth quarter defense, right? They only allowed like 7 points over pretty much like more than half the quarter in the fourth quarter. So much of that was real interesting to me because, number one, Spo made a mistake by not putting Butler back into the game. I mean, he sent him to the score around the 6-minute mark, but there were no breaks in play until about 3 minutes left. So those are 3 crucial minutes and probably like 6 or 7 offensive possessions where you didn't have your best player in, right? So that's a big mistake by Spo, but thank you. All right. But I think the other thing, too, is just like, okay, so without Butler on the floor, what they were trying to do is leverage the threat of Bam Adebayo going into the post or going towards the basket and stretching the court so that he can pull some guys with him, and then the three-point shooters are open for Miami, right? And the one interesting adjustment I saw was just how often the Raptors had their big wings guarding their opposing smalls, right? Whether it was Kyle Lowry bringing up the court, Kyle would be guarded by like Pascal. That's not a normal matchup, right? But they will put Pascal on him. They put OG on Tyler Hero, right? So when they came up with these screens with Bam Adebayo, they can just switch them. There were no advantages for the Heat's offense, and that's why their offense went nowhere. But I think for Precious in particular, not only did he have to really do a good job of executing the switches, guarding on the perimeter, obviously rebounding the ball, but there are times when, and you can like stop the game in the fourth quarter and you'll see it, the opposing guard for Miami would have the ball just inside of half, and your center, Precious Achiuwa, is guarding him on the ball right there. How many centers in this league, and we know Precious is not a true center, but how many centers in this league can guard 40 feet from the basket? And
not many.
You know what I mean? So you got to give Precious a lot of credit for playing in his role. And I mean, look, we don't expect 22 rebounds every single game, but I think the role that he played last night, and wow, we're just watching him on a switch right here guarding Gabe, Vincent on a drive. But like, how is this the role that we can expect from Precious defensively?
I think so. When all the pieces are healthy, you have a team where everyone can just slot into the right spot.
Okay.
And so I think with Precious, to your point, like I went back and watched those rebounds, and he literally grabbed every different type of rebound possible.
Okay, what do you mean by that?
So there's almost like the basic one where he's matched up with Bam Adebayo and he's just boxing him out, gets the board. Okay? Standard. Then he's matched up with Jimmy Butler, and then all of a sudden there's a switch, and now he's onto Bam. So he's guarded Jimmy Butler, then he's boxing out Bam, gets the rebound. Then he's defending guards on the perimeter, as you were talking about, and then he hustles back to get the rebound when the shot goes up. There was a play where he's matched up with Max Strus on the weak side corner, and Bam's got a mismatch with Delano, and a shot goes up, and Precious realizes he's got to go help Delano. Yeah. And so he just races over and gets the board before Bam can get there. And and so it's boards like that where you're just saying, man, he can get every single type of rebound because of his versatility. Yeah. And the ability to do that is super unique. Like even at the end, when he gets that rebound off of Pascal, like free throw line jumper ahead of Max Strus. Yeah. How many times last season did we see him just try to force back up a shot? Yeah. And instead, this is where you see the growth. And so he kicks it back out to OG just as he sees like Bam start to rush over as well. And now you get a wide open three. Yeah. And the Raptors get a 3-point lead.
And that was a go-ahead play.
Yeah.
Right. You make the push. Your defense is solid. You just make that push over and over and over again, and then finally you get that play where Precious is able to do it. And I liked it too because look, all those rebounds really allowed the Raptors to get on the break, right? But there's also this tendency, especially last season, where Nick's giving every single player on his team the green light to drive once they collect the rebound, right? Precious can be very effective on the fast break, but there's also some times where he sort of messes it up, right?
Yep.
Rushes a little bit too hard, forces a shot up, whatever, right? But I think last night he did a really great job of not doing that. Finding Pascal, finding Fred, and saying, look, we're still going to push in transition, but I'm going to make sure that our best players have the ball in their hands so that they can make sound decisions. One of the other reasons why the Raptors have been good this year, they don't turn the ball over, right? And, honestly, Precious is probably one of the more turnover-prone guys. So you got to give him full credit for playing his role. Great dunk and one at the end there, too.
Mm-hmm.
And, if there's actually just any sort of, oddities from last night's game, it's probably OG. Only taking 4 shots. What'd you
quickly,
make of that?
Before we go to OG, I just remembered another play that Precious made, which was one, knowing his teammates, but it was also hilarious because there was so OG was handling the ball up top.
Okay.
And Gary was about to be wide open on the wing.
Mm-hmm.
And Precious was in the corner, and he recognized that Gary was going to be open.
Oh, that shot's going up.
There's no way I'm getting this ball.
Yeah.
And he just immediately just ran to the glass. And then he got the offensive rebound.
That's continuity right there. That's knowing your teammates, man.
Exactly.
If the ball's going passed to Gary, he's gonna pass the ball, or he's gonna shoot the ball.
By the way, the glass or get back on defense.
Yeah. Well, the one time Gary did actually pass the ball yesterday. I don't know if you saw this, but he did a 360.
It was the most dramatic assist.
It was like a simple, point to wing pass to Fred open for 3. But Gary just decided to do a random 360. I really enjoy Gary, man.
Yeah.
He's a maverick. He moves at the beat of his own drum. All right. Last thing, OG. Only 4 shots last night. So what was going on? I mean, he had foul trouble and stuff, but he ended up playing 34 minutes.
Honestly, I thought that he was just playing within the flow of the offense.
So the offense just didn't flow to him.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I thought he played tremendous defense.
That's true. Always.
And I think, that's just going to be how it is some nights. It's surprising for sure. You would think that, on a night that Scotty Barnes isn't playing, that you see an uptick for OG. But I thought for the most part, he played the way he should offensively. I still think there's things he needs to learn in terms of his premeditation, because there's times where he's on the perimeter and the ball is swung to him and it's like he's already made up his mind to drive.
Yeah.
And it's like, you've got a wide open shot, just take it. Or, it can be vice versa as well, where, he is contested and he's already made up his mind to shoot. So he's just going up with the shot. So I think things like that he can improve at. And again, that's somewhat a player who's maybe more of an athlete than a basketball player. And, maybe some will argue, hey, he needs those reps to get that understanding and whatnot. But also, within this team, when healthy, it's perfectly fine for him to be, option 4, option 5.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the tracking data now. He had 44 touches last night. This is lower than his season average. I agree. But at the same time, a guy like Gary had 37 touches, and he put up 19 shots.
Yep.
More shots than passes is a really hard thing to do in the NBA, man. As a guard.
Not for Gary.
This is unbelievable, man. This guy was shooting whenever he touches it, man. But I mean, listen, I think you got to be aggressive in the offense too, and I think there is a better balance to be struck than him only taking OG.
I think so, for sure. Yeah. When Scotty's out, for sure.
Yeah. No, even when Scotty's in, I think that this is the shot spectrum for OG that I like, and I'm curious to see if you like this. But obviously, catch and shoot threes from the corners, from the top, whatever. Catch and shoot threes on kickouts. The ball swings over. Shoot that ball, right? You had that other clip where, or I think someone else posted the clip, but it was like Scotty crossover, cross-court pass to OG. He doesn't shoot it. Tries to go for a step back. Shoot the 3, right? Catch and shoot threes. That's your best thing that he can do. Second thing I like, him running out on the break early in transition, gets early post position, catches it deep in the post, has a one-on-one opportunity, scores. Like those, take those opportunities whenever. Third, cutting, right? Either getting off the offensive glass, cut it, cut to the glass after someone else gets the board, or if he gets his own offensive rebound, try to go back up around the basket. You're cool with all of that stuff. Basically, if it doesn't really involve dribbling, those are pretty much going to be efficient shots for OG.
Yep.
And, even in that context, there are probably more than 4 shots available. That's all I'm trying to say.
No, I 100% agree with that. Yeah. I think the challenge with OG is kind of what Nick Nurse says about different players that are, trying to move up the ranks, right? It's like, hey, we've seen, you have that A+ game 1 out of 5 nights. Okay, how do we get that to 2? How do we get that to 3? How do we get that to 4?
Yeah.
No one's going to have, 5 out of 5 or 10 out of 10 great nights in the NBA, right? But
except for Pascal Siakam right now. No, he's playing great, man.
He's incredible. Yeah. He is absolutely incredible. But yeah, with OG, I think that is the challenge, right? Like when you look at that game he had on opening night, that was as perfect a game as you would want to see from OG.
Yeah.
Right? Literally doing everything you could possibly ask for. And so is that the type of game that you would see 1 out of every 10 nights, or is it 2 out of every 10 nights?
Yeah, it's fair.
That's where, he can move into a different tier.
All right. Well, look, it was a great win. I think those are good things to build on. And of course, you got to turn your attention to Philly for another one of these home and home series coming up. But yeah, for now, we're going to take a break. Vivek, thank you for joining us on the program. I've been your host, Will Lou, and you've been listening to the Raptors Show on the Sportsnet Radio Network. Welcome back to the Raptors Show on the Raptors on the Sportsnet Radio Network. What am I doing? I'm your host, Wim Liu. I'm joined by producer and co-host Alex Wong for the second segment. Big thanks to Big V for coming in to recap the Heat game. And yeah, Alex, you know, one thing you managed to do on the show is not talk that much hoop. It's actually one of your signatures as a co-host. So I'm going to flip it on you because you don't have your laptop here today. You do have your phone, but, you know, no laptop. And I'm just going to hit you with some hoop talk.
I love it.
Are you ready for this?
Yeah, I love basketball.
Because people want to know what your basketball opinions are,
Oh,
too.
yeah.
Other than just that modern NBA sucks.
But, you know, I know you got 20 minutes to kill, so I'm here, man.
It's actually less than. So
I'm a hired gun. Let's go.
You're a full-time employee, sir. All right.
Yo, don't break the facade, man.
Yeah. Question number one. Are you concerned
man. Yeah, what's up?
About minutes and usage so far for the Raptors?
No. I see a lot of talk about this. And I think when you look at the minutes, and I know we've talked about it too, Fred is approaching like 40 minutes a game at the moment, right? I think he's at around 39. But
he is at 38.8.
38.8.
Yeah.
So that's like you saying I'm 40 when I'm 38.
Well, you're 38.8, right?
I'm 38.1 right now. But, you know, apparently I got people congratulating me for being 40.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, basketball. Yeah. So, no, man, I'm not concerned at all. I think you've said this on the React Pod and on the Raptors Show as well. If they're going to win these games, especially with this schedule at the beginning of the season, you're going to have to play your starters like 35, 40 minutes. Unless you have players like Precious Achiuwa coming off the bench, grabbing 22 rebounds. Yeah. Which, by the way, we're bringing the most improved player talk back out of storage.
There we go.
After yesterday. A lot of just overreactions first week of the season.
Yeah, that's fair.
So we're swinging back and forth a little bit. But, like, you know, how many bench guys do you trust? I mean, we did this last year too, right? We did this in Tampa.
That's a good segment.
How many? Yeah, let's do it right now.
Okay.
How many bench players do you trust right now? I've got Chris Boucher.
Yes.
And recency bias, I've got Precious, but I think we need more consistency on that end. I'm not talking about 22 rebounds a game. I just mean energy, contribution, just no like silly mistakes, all that stuff. You want a consistent player off the bench.
Yeah.
So I'll put Precious in there, one foot in. Who else? That didn't play last night.
I was a little surprised that didn't play last night.
Really?
Yeah. Well, when the Heat went to zone, I was like, okay, look, I get it if you don't want to play Thad like in an up and down game. But if it's a half-court battle and OG's not playing well and he's got foul trouble, why not play Thad? You know, like there was a play last night where at the start of the fourth quarter, the Heat went to the zone. And I swear it took 15 seconds for them to just input the ball to Precious in the middle of the floor. Like that's step one to beat the zone. You feed the man in the post.
Do you think the Raptors practice that a lot? Because I feel like this has been a recurring pattern, especially against Miami, who's the team most likely to zone them up.
Yeah, no, these two teams should not play each other. It's bad for basketball.
No. You know the basketball is bad when Wulu can be like, oh yeah, yesterday he's like, oh, it's gonna be a 91-90 grudge match, and he was pretty much right on the spot.
All I said yesterday for the Bet River segment was take the under and also take the Raptors to win. Which, by the way, both things happened. I think. But yeah, like I think you probably could have used that a little bit. But I think I would trust that if he's available. Okay. If Nick's gonna play him.
I just feel like we need to be setting a higher bar.
What about Otto?
Yes, I mean I haven't seen Otto play, so I guess it's a, you know, N/A N/A at the moment.
That's fair, yeah.
But yes, you know, Otto obviously has a proven record, so I think he's there too. Okay. But I mean, should we just start setting the bar a little higher just overall? Like I was listening to Vivek Jacob in the first segment, and he was talking about how because of the injuries last year, because of the rotations and like players coming in and out, we didn't get to see the full potential of what this team could be as a 3-point shooting team, right? I disagree with that.
Okay.
We need an elite 3-point shooter.
Okay.
On this team, like we just do. Like I feel like
How about we get Doug McDermott and Jakob Poeltl at the trade deadline?
Oh, that would be awesome. Oh, Doug McDermott's on the Spurs too? Okay.
He's been there for a while.
I like that. I like that. No, but you know what I mean, though? Where do you stand on this? Because I know I feel like this is the thing. We keep squinting and trying to find ways to justify that the Raptors have a good 3-point shooting team. And why are we doing that? I'm serious.
Why are you saying it like this?
No, but why are we doing that? Like
we shoot the ball well so far.
No, but it's very clear that we need an elite 3-point shooter. Like I feel like that's a skill set that's clearly missing. Like you okay with these 5-minute offensive droughts that take place literally every single game?
No.
We're just gonna overlook that?
No,
it happened last night too.
You're right. You're right. But do you think they need another creator, or do you think they need another shooter specifically?
They need a shooter, but the problem is
a creator or a finisher, because that's the two very different things.
I just want like a spot up shooter,
just a spot,
like someone who you know.
So one more Gary, essentially.
One more Gary.
Okay.
I mean, Gary's a very good, above average 3-point shooter.
Yeah,
but I'm talking about like, like top level, like elite. Okay. Like I just feel like the 3-point shooting is just clearly something that's missing from this team.
Okay.
And I'm just in disagreement with all the talk about how like at their peak level, if they have the best lineup rolling out their top 5 shooters out there, it might not be a problem. I just feel like it will be a problem.
Okay, that's fair.
That's all I'm saying.
That's fair. I think they could also use another creator. You want
to talk hoops, man.
That's what. Wow. Okay, I didn't know you had to.
I didn't even know I had any opinions. What other opinions do I have? Nick Nurse as a head coach? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the thing for the trade deadline. It's just like, I think we're gonna have the same discussions. By the way, just breaking news, we will have the same discussions.
Yes, we'll have a 2-hour show, and the Raptors will trade for Thaddeus Young II.
Yeah, I honestly that could be used in a trade if the Raptors ultimately don't end up playing him. But
yeah, you're right though. Yeah, go ahead.
But like, yeah, that's what you'd be looking to get back is a reliable center, like a starting caliber level center, right?
And a shooter.
Yeah, and a shooter.
If you could
but probably only one.
You could only pick one.
The Raptors are like an immigrant family, man. You might have a Christmas wish list, but you're getting maybe one of those.
PC Cola from Costco. Yeah.
You come from generational wealth. You can't make this joke.
Sorry, man. I'm just trying to put up a public front. If you I did drink PC Cola growing up though, not a name brand family.
Your parents kept you humble.
My parents kept me very humble, and it's all coming out now, 38.1 years later. But if you could only pick one, then center or a shooter. If you could only pick one under the Christmas tree, just like when you were 8 years old and you wanted a Game Boy Color and you got the black and white Game Boy instead.
Yeah.
Which one would you take?
First off, I got a refurbished Game Boy Advance SP for my first ever game console. It was great. Yeah. My dad threw that off the balcony.
When I was told that story
off the 12th floor when I played it too much.
Yeah. Watch season 1.
I think, man, I oscillate all the time, actually. There's some games where the Raptors play, I don't know, like Nick Claxton, who gets like 7 offensive rebounds. And I'm like, damn, I wish they had a center. And then some games, they shoot like 10 of 40 from 3. And I'm like, okay, I wish they got a shooter. I think, to me, it's just like, offensively, they probably do need that a little bit more. Because I think that, like, when you have the combo of Chris and Precious in the game, I don't worry about the glass. I don't really worry about even, like, rim protection. I think those guys do a really great job of it.
Sure.
I think if they had another creator, like, for example, in the offseason when Malcolm Brogdon's like, hey, just for fun, I turned down the Raptors. I'm like, okay, why are you saying this out loud?
By the way, amazing players that are going to get booed at Scotiabank Arena list so far. It's Malcolm Brogdon and Caleb Martin. If you had on the parlay, hit me up, man. It's a whole new game. It's a whole new game right now.
Well, that's the other thing, too, is your favorite unforeseen storylines this season. I'm going to ask you for that one. But, yeah, like, I think another creator like that.
Sure.
Like a Malcolm Brogdon, who can catch and shoot for 3, but also drive. He's a very good driver. You know?
I will say
you're missing that because it's like my other questions are like Delano or Malachi. The answer is neither.
But I mean, like even circling back to when we were trying to pick how many guys we trust off the bench, right? It's tough.
Yeah,
like, I feel like every player you pick, even a Thad Young, I love what Thad Young brings on the floor, but how many guys are giving you consistent production every night, right?
We'll see. I mean, hopefully guys get healthier.
Early. I get it.
Yeah.
But we've seen this trend for a couple of years, right?
That's fair. Yeah,
that's why there's reason to maybe just be concerned early on. I will say with the trade deadline talk, though, that's a really good point because the Raptors are very well positioned to make a trade.
Yep. They got more salaries to use.
They've got all their picks.
They got all their picks.
If they want to use it. Although I think they'll be very
making money who aren't necessarily in the rotation right now that you could piece together, right? Like, for example, you can throw Kem and Thad into a deal that gets you about $12 million in salaries, so you could probably take back about 14, 15.
And in general, the Raptors don't have a bad contract on their roster.
No, even the guys who don't play, like again, those are short-term contracts that you can sort of aggregate into bigger deals. Again, we could talk about this later down the line. I think for now, it's just looking ahead in terms of like what they may need. I'm sure the front office thinks about this all the time. So yeah, what your favorite unforeseen storyline this season that has emerged for you? Is it the Caleb Martin hate that has gone around?
I mean, I'm not surprised, but I did see Caleb Martin apologize.
I thought
they
that
spoke
was
to
really
Christian
cool.
Cole. No,
man.
that was cool.
That was cool of him to say that. He said he talked to Christian. He says they're cool. He talked about it. He said Christian shouldn't have been thrown out. He just was doing what he was supposed to do.
Yeah.
He took apology.
Did he hand over $15,000?
No, but why were people expecting him to pay his fine? Are you kidding me?
Why not, man?
No, that's not how this game is played.
If I accidentally got you suspended for one game, would you expect me to pay you $15,000?
We're very good friends. Like, these guys don't even know each other.
We got to do that
also,
thing
I think
where
it's illegal.
we got to do that thing where on the count of 3, we both say what we think our friendship is out of 10. Let's do it at the end of the season.
Okay, all right. We'll see. We'll see how year 2 goes.
Let's see. I got another basketball thought.
Okay, yeah.
I was watching beloved GOAT Kyle Lowry struggle last night.
Yeah, 1 of 8.
And I know there's been obviously a lot of talk, especially after last year's playoffs, about Kyle's decline. And I was just thinking, I mean, not to just add more hype to, Masai Ujiri, but like, if you look at it, if you separate the sentimental side of all these Raptors leaving, right?
Yeah, of course.
The Raptors have moved on from a lot of the players from the championship core at the perfect time. Kyle.
Yeah.
Okay. In retrospect, obviously with hindsight, right?
Well, I mean, you first of all, Kyle just left in free agency, and you still got pressures out that deal.
Yes.
Kyle could have just left to Miami. They probably would have had to pay him less, but they were able to accommodate him and get a prospect back. And Precious, by the way.
But again, setting aside the sentiment, if Kyle was on a, like, what is it, 3-year, $90 million deal right now?
Yeah.
I don't know how you feel about just the team building going forward, right?
First off, you couldn't do your all 6'9" thing because you'd have 2 small point guards.
But just the contract alone, right?
Yes.
Right? And then the trickle down effect of, do the young guys get the minutes and the experience that they get?
Sure, yeah.
I put Serge in there as well. Listen, I love Serge.
Listen, we all wanted Serge back at that time.
We got the best years of Serge here in Toronto. His best years were in OKC.
No, but they were very good in Toronto as well. And I think, just obviously you can't foresee injuries, but he hasn't really played that much and hasn't been that effective since leaving Toronto.
Yeah. I put DeMar in there just because obviously DeMar was traded for Kawhi.
I mean, yeah, come on. That's all-time deal.
We don't need to talk about that. Mark?
Yeah, he went to the Lakers. They said, we're going to play Andre Drummond over you, and then he literally went home to Spain.
Yeah, I'm happy for Mark. But at the same time, I think we saw a decline in Mark, right?
Yeah.
Norm as well. Flipping Norm, not paying him the contract.
Getting Gary instead.
And then getting Gary and kind of resetting with a younger player on the roster.
That one is more like a net neutral.
Okay, no, that's fair.
But at the same time, I understand
it wasn't a loss.
Well, I mean, Norm's like almost 30 now. Yeah. And like we know exactly what Norm was going to be. And they kind of wanted to take a look at Gary. And Gary's basically the same level of player as Norm.
Yeah, so, well, I think if Norm was on this roster right now with the contract that he has.
I mean, exactly. I'd rather have Gary on a 2-year deal than Norm.
There'd be a lot of talk about, maybe moving on from Norm or justifying that. So I know, the city has not hyped up Masai enough and Bobby Webster as well. So just wanted to point that out.
No one's hyped up Bobby Webster except for this show.
Not at all. Yeah.
We
don't like you, Bobby. No, I'm just kidding.
That's our guy.
Shouts to Bobby. No, but that was just
okay.
That's my hoops observation.
Not bad. What else you have in the rundown here?
Not bad. Thanks, man.
Donyell Marshall will be a problem today.
Yeah, so I don't know how this came up last night.
Okay,
after the game, you were like, Donyell Marshall will be a problem?
On the Sportsnet broadcast, at the end of the game, they were showing like Raptors players with the most rebounds in a single game.
Sure.
And it was guys that you would expect, like, I forget who else was, like Chris Bosh probably, like JV, maybe Bismack Biyombo.
Sure.
Like, Solomon Alabi had a 19 rebound game.
The rebound
and then one of them was Donyell Marshall, who had 24 rebounds.
Yeah, who's only ever known here in Toronto for hitting the 12 threes.
But how that's amazing because there's not that many Donyell Marshall memories in Toronto.
Yeah.
But he somehow had a 12-3 game and also had a 24 rebound game. So
I just had to check you a little bit. I feel like you were getting a little too excited.
I was because I said Donyell Marshall would be in today's NBA would be a problem.
And I was like, you got to stop.
But wouldn't he be though?
Well, because we established yesterday, or we've established like throughout the show, like you can't talk about any Raptors pre like 2004.
No, but I watched Donyell Marshall.
Okay,
man.
well, you know what we're gonna do next time Alvin's on?
Yeah.
Instead of asking him who the Caleb Martin is today.
Oh no, yeah.
The groan. We're gonna have this Donyell Marshall discussion.
Okay.
Okay.
I think Alvin will be with me on
let's
this
go
one,
through.
man.
Let's go through some of the old Raptors rosters, and we'll pick up some players, and we'll talk to Alvin about it.
Yeah.
How they would perform in today's NBA.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Fair enough.
How much? Oh, 4 minutes. Okay,
but what best to say? He rebounded the ball. He was a decent defender at the basket. He shot the three at a pretty effective level. I mean, it makes a lot of sense. Modern big.
Okay.
Ahead of his time, Donyell Marshall.
Yeah, you're 2 weeks away from saying he's better than Chris Bosh, man.
I mean, he wasn't, but You know.
Yeah, shouts to Enes Esmer. So obviously Spice and Dice got another mention on the broadcast yesterday.
Nice.
And another nickname that he pitched last year, Smacks Milk.
Yeah.
So this is based on Max Milk, the convenience store. And he like translated to Smacks Milk for Chris and Precious. We initially hated the nickname, but it's kind of growing on me. I just like saying it.
No, it's one of those things that you kind of have to, you love to hate it. You know?
Yeah.
And I think the two of them deserve a nickname together collectively.
So let's go with Smacks Milk for now. And I think we should have a Smacks Milk meter for Chris and Precious whenever they cross 20 points and 20 rebounds combined.
That's a big gulp at that point. No, I'm confusing convenience stores.
That's 2% milk right there.
Wow.
Dude, I feel like that's fair expectations for them.
20 points and 20
combined.
Rebounds?
Yeah.
That's a lot of, how long are you expecting them to play?
Let's set the bar high for them.
Did they have that yesterday? They did, right? I think Chris had 10. Precious had 10.
Yeah,
Precious had 22 rebounds.
Precious alone covered the rebounds.
All right.
I mean,
that's optimistic, but at the same time, like I do love them together as a combo. And
or we can call them Don't Doubt Them Juniors. Yeah.
Oh, speaking of hymns.
Oh my God.
What about Pas Kim Siakam?
No.
We're not gonna get that off the ground?
Man. No, too many hymns. Pascal Siakam?
Pascal Siakam, Pas Kim Siakam.
No, man.
Pas Kim Siakam.
The minute
these two hymns.
I'll tell you this joke off air.
Okay, all right.
No, but no
nicknames. Okay, what about this? It was during the pandemic.
Yeah,
Pascal or Precious was watching. The Last Dance.
Yeah, this is a no already.
And he tweeted out something about Dennis Rodman.
Okay,
was it a Rodman performance? Because that's what we covered last season.
Didn't we already call everyone on the team a Rodman last season?
There was Pascal calling himself Rodman.
We're not
Chris
doing
Boucher calling
Rodman thing.
Justin Champagne was calling himself Rodman. Do we have 4 Rodmans on the team? We have 3 hymns and 4 Rodmans.
All right, fine. All right, man.
See, this is why Smacks Milk's actually not that bad.
Smacks Milk.
Because when you think about the other nicknames.
Let's get out of here. Before we go, just want to shout out to Tristan, a.k.a. Halfgood. He posted a message today. He's recovering in the hospital right now, and he's going to have an operation this week. So just want to wish him the best of luck and hope to see you soon, Tristan. And I know Tristan's a regular listener, so shouts to you, man.
Shouts to Tristan for sure. All right, that does it for us today. I'm your host, Wolu. You've been listening to The Raptors Show on the Sportsnet Radio Network. Make sure you find The Raptors Show wherever you listen to podcasts and subscribe. And please rate and review our show. Reminder, we're streaming live on Sportsnet's YouTube channel and airing live on Sportsnet 360 Monday to Friday from 2 to 3 p.m. Thanks again to Vivek Jacob, our producer and co-host Alex Wong, our board producer Derek Brandale, and Jennifer Rolnick for helping us with the YouTube stream. And I'll be back to talk to you tomorrow. Players. That's Kim Siakam. Yo.